Hey there, friends and enemies. JoPa here again, and it's time to talk about Heart of Inmost Light in Destiny 2 for the Titan. And as a day one D1 Titan main, I feel like this is the strongest exotic we've ever seen in the game because it is universally good across every subclass, across every type of content from PvE to PvP. It is just phenomenal. If you didn't know, you use one ability like your barricade, it buffs your other abilities like your melee and your grenade for a certain period of time. But that's not all. That would be enough, I feel like, and this would be a very good exotic. However, it also makes your abilities recharge faster. That's the kicker because it means other exotics that empower your abilities can't compete because they're also not charging your abilities. So you can kind of spam them at will, and it just makes them absolutely obscenely powerful. We see it with the arc builds, especially with the storm grenades. You see it with a void build with the vortex grenade as well. And even something like solar, now that we've seen Worm God Caress and other exotics nerfed a little bit, you don't need to rely on those for your hammer. You can throw a grenade and still have a very strong hammer, and then keep that loop going to kind of spam grenades, spam your hammer, use shoulder charge if you'd like instead. And there's just so many options. The only one that's not top tier, S tier on, is possibly stasis, and even that one, because you recharge your abilities so much, it's still very good. And because it's useful in PvE and PvP, end game content, casual play, no matter what, you never have to take it off, and you could have a build for all occasions. And that's why I feel like it should be tinkered with a little bit. Personally, I'm not a fan of calling for nerfs for everything, but Armamentarium is now useless because your grenades charge so fast with the Heart of Inmost Light. You're constantly spamming them, and they're going to be a lot stronger with Heart of Inmost Light than they are with Armamentarium. So it makes a lot of Titan exotics not viable, and that's something I don't like to see. I like them to feel strong, but I want all of the options to feel good when I'm using them, and not feel like I'm kind of trolling by using these other exotics that do things that Heart of Inmost Light does, but worse, you know? And that's where I just feel like the flexibility and versatility of the exotic makes it just too strong currently, and it's something that I think needs to be looked at. Again, I don't think it being too strong in one particular area would be much of a problem. You have something like Curus of the Falling Star for Thunder Crash, right? You can throw that on, but all you're buffing is your super. So your general moment to moment play with your abilities is not going to be affected. But your abilities are used so often, and you get the charges back so fast in the current sandbox that it just makes them obscenely strong. And there's really no reason to run other things. I'd love to go back to using Doomfang Pauldrons or Ursa Furiosa or other exotics far more often, but it's just not really necessary. We don't need Ursa because now we can get overshields all the time. And you get a buffed grenade that's proccing the overshield, that's with the shield throw as well. I mean, there's just so many ways to look at it and say, okay, what other exotics can you run that won't be just completely outshone by Heart of Inmost Light? And again, it's something that I've been using for builds for a long time now, and I have long been a proponent of it, even before it was in the meta. So it kind of pains me to say this because I do wish that we had other exotics rising to the occasion, other exotics be viable, because I do think there's a lot of them that are just kind of useless in the current state, and that's as much of a bummer for me as the strength of Heart of Inmost Light is, because I would rather we have all of the exotics be viable, right? And there's just a lot of them that are just not, and I think that also plays into why Heart of Inmost Light feels so strong, because not only are you having this one outlier that is just so strong, but all the other ones are lackluster at this point. So in addition to Heart of Inmost Light, getting a buff, or getting a nerf, apologies, I would love to see other Titan exotics get a buff, right? Like Doomfang Pauldrons is a perfect example of one that I think just doesn't have a lot of viability. Insurmountable Skullfort, also Kepri's Horn. There's just so many that are just not there. You even look at something like Point Contact Cannon Burst. This was good for a little bit, but because of the strength of Heart of Inmost Light, it's just not competing currently. Second Chance is another one. You get the anti-barrier shields, but that's really it. No backup plans is not good. You get overshields all the time. You look at something like Crest of Alpha Loopy. You look at Hollow Fire Heart. That's another one. Abilities regen faster, even faster if you're supercharged. Heart of Inmost Light does that, and it's gonna buff your grenades, right? There's just so many that I wish could be better. The only options we have really are like Curious and Heart, and I mean, maybe I run Peregrine Greaves a lot in PvP personally, but just a lot of these are just not gonna compete because of how strong that is, and that's really why I find it to be a bummer, because I want as many of these exotics to be viable as possible, and right now that just isn't the case. So it starts with toning down Heart of Inmost Light, and it ends with buffing all the rest of these, which I don't think will be done necessarily with Lightfall. I hope some of them are, but more than likely we'll see Strain come out. That'll be dominant for a bit, and then after that kind of settles down, that's when we'll see everything else adjusted in line. Hopefully, because I want to use every single exotic in my kit in order to have success in different areas of the game personally. So anyway, I know this is a bit of a rant. My name is JoPa. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. If you don't think Heart of Inmost Light should get a nerf, let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your argument. We're going to have loads of content heading into Lightfall, so definitely stay subscribed to the channel. I hope you have a good one, and I'll catch you all later.
Never been one to trust Rasputin before.